It's a good village. When you go down the high street, people say good morning.
It has a soul and it's got a heart, and I think everybody's always willing to help.
Everybody knows you in the shops and they treat you as an individual. It's a good village to live in.
Hello? Oh, hello? If you hang on a minute, I'll just get my diary, okay? When's it for? Right. Yes, I'm free.
Well, Good Neighbours is a collection of volunteers, essentially, who want to help people who are less fortunate than themselves.
Right. Oh, I know her, so that'll be good.
And we have about 60 volunteers at the moment, and we're organised essentially through a committee, which is, again, comprises volunteers, and we have a number of activities, the main one of which is the driving, where we take people to doctors' surgeries and to hospitals and other places for medical purposes. And that's organised through a helpline which people call.
Good Neighbours Helpline, good morning, how can I help? The helpline, we have it for 24 hours at a time, although it's actually only on from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. And literally we go around doing our normal daily things until the phone line rings, and we then answer the phone line, take a call from a client, take all the details, then we go through a card index. We take the first card and we phone that person up to see whether they can manage that drive. If they're not in or they can't do the drive, we then go on to the next one and on down the list until we find somebody who can manage the call.
I've only got a little car, so I can really only take one at a time. I just think it's a marvellous idea, and they should be set up all over the place. Because there are an awful lot of people who do have spare time, and if you need to, you can claim your expenses.
I wanted the Good Neighbours to shift its focus a bit. It was largely for the elderly, and I wanted it to be for anybody who needed it, regardless of age.
I find them very useful for getting to appointments at Watford General and at the dentist in the village.
Oh, brilliant. Do you have lunch there as well?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I had a stroke 10 years ago, which was a stroke of bad luck, really.
It's just enjoyable to put, helping everybody who can't get out, and sometimes it's their only time to meet people, and it's great.
Oh, you feel somebody is really caring for and wants to do the best service they probably can to make you feel at ease, want to reassure you that they don't mind doing it. And they're really at your beck and call, by and large.
They take me to hospitals. I think all the hospitals around, Hemel, St Albans, Watford. Oh, the volunteers are lovely. Oh, what I like about them, they're very helpful. They're with you when you want them to be with you. They're not obstructive in any way. I sometimes have them in with me when I'm seeing a consultant, and other times I don't. It's just how I feel. And they're ready to do anything like that. Yes.
It is a very satisfying occupation. It's one you can do also without formal commitment. The thing about driving particularly is you can ring up, if I can do it, I will, but because I'm doing other work, I haven't got to the commitment on a regular basis, which is absolutely ideal.
I mean, some do a lot and some don't do so much, so you get a real variety. And a lot of them have had very interesting jobs previously, so that must add to your conversations with them.
The Good Neighbours are very nice, and they help you a lot in the hospital, as a taxi wouldn't do that. They would just put you down and that's it.
It's much cheaper as well. It costs me half the price a taxi would cost me.
We don't actually ask people to pay, but we do mention to clients that we appreciate donations. And virtually all of our clients will give us donations, and some people are very generous, of course.
Most drivers carry a little cardboard box with a slot in the top, like a piggy bank, and that's made available to the passenger so that it saves them having to hand cash over. They can just slip it discreetly into the box, and then the boxes are handed in subsequently.
We are able to offer our volunteers expenses. So every drive is logged so that we know exactly the distance that the driver has taken the client on. And then every quarter the expenses are put through to our treasurer, and then people are reimbursed for the mileage that they've done for us.
This is the easy part, just driving it, getting organising and getting everybody on board, doing everything that goes with it. Must be very time consuming.
Finding volunteers is a continuing challenge for us. We're always looking for them. We recruit through the leaflets we send out around the village. We recruit through posters that we post in the village, and we hope that our presence at the carnival and other functions in the village also will help people to understand who we are, what we are, and then perhaps come forward and help.
Once they were in, it was quite hard for them to actually see what they were doing. It was quite an enclosed gazebo, wasn't it?
There were times when there was sort of very little activity on the stall at all. And Stephen commented what we needed were people to go out and actually bring people in.
That's the way I got Good Neighbours going in the first place, was by challenging people, going out and challenging people to get involved. So. I was a parish councillor when I was 29, and I was listening to the Today programme, and there was an item bemoaning the plight of some old people in very cold weather, and it was quite a harsh winter then. And although there were organisations that could help, they often didn't know the people that needed the help. There should be some scheme to find these people. And I thought, well, this is quite a good idea, but we could perhaps go a bit further, and not just in the cold weather, but that these people who needed help but weren't getting it because the organisations that were there to give it didn't know they were there, that there was a niche that we could fill. So I called a meeting of the Great and the Good in Kings Langley, upstairs in the Baptist Hall. It was considered to be a feasible plan, so a small group of us got together, and in at the beginning of October we held our inaugural meeting down at the workshop in Waterside, and that's how we started. We had a system of street stewards. The idea was to find these people. That phased out over the years. In 1967, the parish council financed the rental of a landline phone. I thought, this is an ideal for a disabled person who's housebound. Found such a gentleman up in Great Park, and so I got onto the post office telephone and said, we want a memorable number, so they gave us 3333, and for many years that was the way that people contacted us, and of course we advertised that.
Yeah, well, you've been keeping all right.
Well, yeah, not too bad, really.
Well, we undertake a number of other activities. Sometimes we will organise rotas if our clients need help with shopping. So we might take somebody shopping perhaps every week or every fortnight.
See what we've got here.
Brian contacted us a little while ago. He'd just come out of hospital having had surgery on his legs.
This is a lovely one, this one.
And was finding movement very difficult, and asked if we could help with shopping.
Yes, please. 2 of them, please. Yeah.
And shopping gives me the independence, really, because I got everything I want now for the week.
Small one.
So I can relax, as it were.
Oh, they've altered it all, haven't they? Oh, blimey.
All I can say is that they're wonderful. Yeah. I can't do no more than that. And I know they're very caring people, absolutely. And I've become friends with them.
We also help people if they have a long-term medical appointments and they need to be taken to hospital perhaps daily or perhaps every week for treatments. So one of the jobs that I do is to actually organise those rotas. We also help people with minor DIY jobs, so we have a number of volunteers who will help with gardening and also little bits of painting or interior work, perhaps putting up curtains and things like that.
Little odd jobs which help people really. Putting up some shelves perhaps in the Abbey Field, might be just as simple as like changing a light bulb. Also, I mean, like sort of kitchen taps or something like that, you can sometimes unscrew the valve and put a new tap in. And they're small jobs which don't require too much effort, but you don't actually have to get a plumber out for them. And very often for some of the smaller jobs, an electrician or a plumber or whatever isn't very interested in those sort of jobs anyway, because there's no value to them. And then of course gardening was an immense problem because I had this fractured vertebrae. So Terry came round and I think we've hit it off reasonably well. She's a very pleasant person, very knowledgeable. I think she knows the name of every plant that we have in the garden, which is certainly more than I do.
I just thought it was time I gave something back, really. We all have our ups and downs, and I've had my share of bad times, but I think some people get more than their fair share, so I've been helped in the past, so perhaps it's my turn to do a little bit back now. She found strawberries I'd forgotten we had as an undergrowth at the back of this room. She trimmed all the wisteria last year, and we've had the wisteria for 30 years, but this year in the spring it was just tremendous.
On Tuesdays we run a lunch club. This is held at Christchurch Baptist, and we have about 25 diners who come regularly, and for around £5 they get a 3-course lunch.
We can't understand how they can keep it at £5 for so long, but don't quote me.
Well, I've set up the tables, the cutlery and that. Maybe for some of them it's the only decent meal they get in the week, I think. It's the last one left, as you know, so yes. We've only got 8 today.
All right, so I don't need that.
So
Well, I used to be a volunteer driver for Meals on Wheels for Kings Langley, and when they stopped using volunteers, I was approached by someone to come and help out with the lunch club team, and I thought that sounds a lot of fun. So actually when I came down to check it out, it was a lot of fun. And I've been working here for quite a few years now, and I can quite honestly say that I probably get as much out of it as the diners do.
a lot of them don't cater for themselves in the flats, saddlers and that. They don't cater for themselves, they've told me, so it does mean that they get one really cracking meal a week, yes.
It's really very good, and you don't have to cook for yourself when you go home.
You have a choice, and you can choose what you want from the week before.
They come from the kitchen at the centre in the park, which is a daycare facility for older people in Hemel. And one of our volunteer drivers will go and collect them in vast insulated boxes, which keep them nice and hot. Then they bring them here, and we have some wonderful helpers who then welcome all the guests when they come to lunch, make sure they're seated safely. A few of them do have mobility issues with wheelchairs and walkers. Then they have a cup of tea while they wait for lunch, and they have a good chat with all their friends. We have some fabulous meals, really, from the day centre. We get roast dinners, which are always a favourite.
What's the best thing for you about coming
out for the company. It's nice to have a meal with others, you know, not sitting on your own and have your meal. I think the Good Neighbours are doing a really, really excellent job here.
Everyone is really friendly and supportive, and hopefully one day I'll make the most of it and use it.
Very caring people.
It's kind for the people to do it.
Hello Ruth, it's Jan. I've got the Good Neighbours helpline.
I'm the handsome one.
There's a lot of pleasure, you know, in talking to people, you know, at the same time as, you know, doing the job. It's good to know they're there.
It'd be nice, I think, to get some younger people involved.
Everybody needs a hand from time to time, don't they?
You don't get this in every part of the country. In fact, people I speak to are quite surprised that there is such a thing running in our village.
If there's any drivers out there or volunteers, come and join.
Thank you.